All right, it looks like I am live on the internet, and this is Foundational Things Day One of a 9-day series called Find What You're Looking For. And it's all about internet search and finding ways to have better internet searches, have better results. And yeah, we're just going to have our first session here where I'm just going to walk through a little bit about what everything's all about and just checking a few things and making sure that it looks like everything's looking all right. I'm a one woman show here, so I have to keep an eye on all of the on all of the things. But I should be good to start. And this is recorded, so we will be able to go back and look at it and pick up on anything maybe you missed the first time around. So I'm just going to pull up some slides here, and you should still be able to see me in the corner. So this is day one of a, like as I mentioned, a 9-part series. So hoping around lunchtime Eastern Standard Daylight Time that I'll be able to hop on for the next 9 weekdays. So today through to the end of the week on Friday, and then Monday through Friday next week. And then that is our 9-session series. And just better introduce the whole thing. So Find What You're Looking For is what I've called this live teaching series. Totally free. It'll be up eventually. As soon as I figure out how to do it properly, it'll be up as part of the Foundational Things YouTube channel. It will have its own playlist, and you can see all 9 days. I'll collect them all there. So if you miss a day, or if you want to go through the whole thing again, it will be there waiting for you. And basically, the series is just exploring the ins and outs of internet searching. So we're going to cover a lot of ground over the next 9 sessions. And some things will be pretty surface level. Some things will be a nice introduction. And then a few things might be a little bit deeper and be able to really kind of grapple with some of the intricacies that hopefully will help you and me have better internet searches. There are a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about that honestly I need to do a little bit more often just to be that little bit more effective in my own searches. But there's lots of information out there, and sometimes that's the problem. There's so much information out there. So hopefully some of these tips and ideas will help bring some order to the chaos that internet searching can sometimes feel like it is. So what are we looking at? So 9 days of live teaching. It is free teaching. There's also a free companion guide. I'll talk about it a little bit more towards the end. There'll be links different places. There'll definitely be a link in the description afterwards. Free companion guide called Searching Made Easier. It's going to go over a lot of the same ideas that these 9 days cover. Some of the examples might be similar. Some things will be in more depth. It's just nice to have a handy reference. It's a 11-page guide that goes over some of the things. Just a good reminder for some quick reference for some of the topics. And I think it provides a nice summary for the things that we're doing here. So if you want to get to the head of the class, you might want to download that today and get reading the whole thing. But no matter, both this teaching and the guide, they're designed to help you find what you're looking for. So the idea of you're coming to the internet and you have something you want to find out, something you want to learn more about or figure out, and how can you better do that? What are some things? What are some techniques that will assist with that? So that's the goal. Because this is live, there are opportunities for interaction. And if you're watching in real time, there is a delay, but I should be able to figure out, and I'm saying this and I'm like looking at it and I'm saying, I accept, I have no idea where the chat went. I should be able to see that you are chatting. So if you're here and if you have a question in in the moment, then feel free to use the, I don't know where it went. I might not be able to do that today. But feel free to ask the questions. If I can't answer the questions today, as I figure this all out, this is my first official teaching session using YouTube Live. So if I can't ever find that chat window today, I will definitely come back and I will answer any questions that I'm not able to address during the session. And if you're watching this later and you have a question, even if it's like weeks or months later down the road, go ahead and pop your question in the chat, and I will do my best to respond. And if I can't, maybe someone else will, and we'll just keep an eye on that, make sure that they're giving you good info. But yeah, so I want this to benefit you, not just me. This is really good for me, but my whole part of the fabric of who I am is that I love to help people. So if you have questions or if you have things that you want me to dig into a little bit deeper, especially if we're live, and if you ask me some questions today and tomorrow, they might be questions that I can answer live in maybe some more detail over the next 9 days. So that's what I mean by opportunities for interaction. This also is a journey that helps me to help you. As I just mentioned, that's important to me and who I am, and to build relationship with you. And again, that's another part. If you know me personally, you already know that about me. That's something that's very important to me. And it's going to help me to grow my education brand and to grow experience with all this. Like eventually I might figure out where the chat window went for YouTube Live. That'd be good. Part of gaining experience and teaching in this way. A little bit about the who and what. I'll get through this pretty quickly. My name is Donna Harris. I am a lifelong computer user. I'm probably a bit older than I look still, which is a nice thing to be able to say. Decades, generations of computers, types of computers, Mac and Windows, the whole schmozzle. Lifelong computer user. Never afraid to jump into something new and try to figure stuff out, and always happy to help people. I have a computer science degree and a half, which means I have a bachelor's from several years ago now, and I'm actually in the middle of a master's degree in computer science, which is pretty wild. I have professional experience both in software development as well as in education. I taught a little bit at the post-secondary level for a few years. And I have many non-computer interests, which includes being able to do stuff with graphic design or music or being outside, which I really would rather be than in my little office at the moment. But yeah, so really diverse. I'm not all about the tech. I'm not just some techie, computery, binary minded person with zeros and ones. Then this foundational things, what is this? Well, this is my education brand. And right now, the big focus for the brand is building a library of content for everyday use that people can go to and find for free on YouTube. And part of that, again, is also this building relationships and learning about what your pain points are, finding out what it is with technology. So I'm taking a nice everyday approach, whether you're super technical or not so technical. We all have to do these things. We all have to be able to search the internet or be more efficient with what we're doing. So that's kind of my focus. I could get very technical, and I don't intend to do that for a little while here. We're just going to do some stuff that matters to everybody, and then see what bubbles up to the surface as things that people are most interested about learning. Okay, so searching the internet, and that's why we're here. So I just mentioned it, something that's common. This is common to everybody. I don't know a technical person who does not search the internet. The best developers and most amazing minds I know search the internet to help solve their problems when they're writing code or doing whatever. And it's the same with people who aren't particularly technical at all. There's so much that we do that involves needing to find information on the internet. So it's common and it's essential. And I would even say the word, it's foundational. It's foundational to what we're doing with computers, what we're doing with our devices. So searching the internet, it's a pretty big thing. It's been around a long time, and it's still one of the big things that we do with it. So, searching the internet is simultaneously easy and difficult. And interestingly enough, a lot of the same things that can make it easier are often the same things that make it difficult. So, what do I mean by that? Let's see if I can get to the next slide. So, for instance, there's lots of data, there's lots of information, there's lots of choice, lots of options on how to do things, where to go. And this is a great thing, right? And it makes it easy in some ways to find information. But at the same time, it can also make it very difficult. When there's so much, how do you find something that's good? How do you find the thing that you're looking for? How do you find it without getting distracted by all the other things that you find along the way? I might not have answers to all these questions, but like you, I'm on the journey, and there are some things that I've picked up over time, over the years, and continue to figure out as we go. So that's something I've noticed. There's a lot of stuff that's out there, but how do we sift through that? All that good stuff that's out there, how do we actually find it? Another example of this, what makes it easy and what makes it hard, what makes it good and what makes it difficult. The internet and searching the internet is always changing. So, like, the information that's out there is constantly changing. So, websites that I built some, 15 cough, whatever, 20 years ago, they aren't on the internet anymore. You can't actually find them. Maybe the companies that used to host them don't exist anymore. Maybe geocities.com. Still exists, but it doesn't look anything like it did when I was first on the internet. There are lots of things that are available, but only briefly. There are lots of things that are there that shouldn't be there, and they get taken down. There are lots of things that are only there just for a wonderful brief time, and if you get in on it, like free concerts, free live streams of a concert. I watched a really great Toronto Symphony Orchestra concert recently, and it was free to watch online, but only for that week. So things are always changing, and that can make it difficult because, oh, there was that thing, where did that go? And it's not there anymore. Or, it wasn't good for it to be there because it wasn't shared legally. So it was a really great thing to see, but then later you can't find it. Things are always changing. Another example of how it's always changing and why it can be good or bad, easy or difficult, is that how searching works behind the scenes is always changing. So today, anything that I'm going to show you, I'm basically just going to be on good old Google, and the Google search engine is an enormous entity, and it has a huge number of things and components that make it do all of its magic, and it is nothing like what it was when I first remember starting to use it, back 20 years ago. And the history of it is fascinating. I'll have to share a link about this because there was a documentary that basically talked about some of the behind the scenes stuff, and it was just really, really interesting. But one of the things that it means is that it can be hard to keep up. Certain things you used to be able to do, you can't search that way anymore. And it's search engines disappear, or certain things used to return certain kinds of results, and now they return something else. And there are times that can be really frustrating, but often it's also something that's really good. There is so much more movement towards being able to just say something in just plain old English and have computers understand our intention behind it. And English is not an easy language to do that with. I have enough trouble as it is. So having computers understand more about context is a really big development and is impacting, what comes back when we put in a simple search. So much about that. We're going to dive into little pieces and bits of that. We're never going to get too technical, but there are things that are worth drawing your attention to over these next 9 sessions that might kind of help, turn a light bulb on in a new room for you in your mind that says, oh, if I do it this way, that's going to help. Or I didn't know that. And now that I know that, we can, go forward with that information. So hopefully this will be the kind of thing that you'll be able to come away with as you go through the different sessions with me. So some common misconceptions about our friend, the internet. One is that everything is on the internet. This is just simply not true. And what that means is sometimes we're going to look for something that we literally cannot find on the internet, or is not readily available, or whatever. This isn't some huge point that I want to draw out, but I think it's important to mention, because I think it's really easy to just assume we're going to be able to find everything. And sometimes the thing you're looking for, you aren't going to be able to find. Doesn't matter how good your search abilities are, or if it's not there, you can't find it, right? If you're searching for the wrong thing, you can't find it, right? So there's a whole bunch of different nuance to that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you're just not going to be able to find. So keeping that in mind is helpful. This one gets a little bit more into the legality of things. Everything is available freely on the internet, and that is still a common misconception. When we all first started interneting, a few decades ago, the second something could be digitized, it was up there and we could do stuff. And a lot of us didn't acknowledge the intellectual property of others. And I know pirating is still a huge thing. And I think a lot of people were still doing this on some level. But I think, again, it's really important to remember that, there are ways of searching the internet that will cost you money. And that's fair. You're getting access to a certain part of the internet and being able to search certain kinds of documents. Academia is like this. If you need to do certain kinds of detailed research, to be able to get access to certain kinds of databases, that's going to cost you money, or at least it should, because that's a business and that's part of that whole deal. And then again, getting into the legality of certain things. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's available freely in theory, but morally and ethically, it certainly is not free. Again, not harping on this point, but just wanted to address common misconceptions right up the front. Another one, every search engine is the same. So searching Google is the same as searching Bing, as searching Yahoo. And again, very briefly, this just isn't true. There are a lot of things probably that are similar concepts, similar foundations, but a lot of the code's going to be different. A lot of the approaches, Google's the giant in the search world that it is, because it did stuff as a company. Its developers did stuff that no one else was doing or is doing. And that just takes it in a different direction. Certain search engines, and we're going to talk more about search engines specifically in a few sessions from now. This is different search engines maybe have different purposes. There are things that you might not even consider to be a search engine that actually are. YouTube is an example of that. YouTube is one very big search engine. And guess what it searches for? It searches for like content like this, like videos, and yeah, it's very, very specific to that kind of thing, but it's a search engine. So not every search engine is the same, doesn't have the same purpose, doesn't have the same stuff under the cover. The magic of a search engine, how it does its magic is different. So there's a few things up front. All right, quick walkthrough of first 3 sessions, including today, for the 9 we have coming up. First 3, our focus will be search operators, and this is flexible. If we end up taking a little longer and I want to push some stuff into another day, if I get some questions and I can figure out where to find the chat and then I answer some, maybe I'll end up, playing with the schedule. But this is the plan right now. First 3 sessions, search operators. So yeah, we're going to have this general introduction to searching. We're going to start looking at some of the common search operators, and we'll do that a bit today and tomorrow, and also exploring some more specific and obscure search operators. Some of these things might be interesting to you. Some of it's just sort of like, isn't that neat? I won't get too deep into obscure things. And then strategies for how to use them. So as we introduce more, then we'll start, seeing what we can do with them together, different ways that you can use them. The middle 3 sessions are going to have a bit more of a theme around search settings. So talk about search engines, using different settings and customizations. Also looking at the web browser that we're using and what kind of functionality that web browsers have to help us with our searches. And then the last 3 sessions, we're going to talk more about context. So search context, and it's definitely going to have a bit of a look at our search results, because our results are kind of the point, and some of the different features that we see around search results. We're going to want to look specifically at our context on what we're looking for, the audience, and that'll make sense when you're not quite sure what I mean by audience right now. That'll be a word that hopefully will make more sense when we get into that, when we're in context. See what I did there? Specifically, we're also going to dig a bit into image searching. I think that's a really interesting thing that maybe doesn't get talked about enough. And then we can't leave our devices out. So we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the implications of internet search on mobile devices. So that covers that. All right. So a bit of a glossary here. I like making sure that we go over terms. So when I say search or searching, I'm just talking about whenever we are requesting information that is based on some specific details and that we're giving these details to a search engine. What's a search engine? So that's just the software that takes a request, does some magic, and then returns a result. And the result is our goal. Those search results, the things that we hope we find. And we're all going to, be looking at the next 9 sessions is how are we going to get to a better result? That's really our primary objective here. And then these ones I really need to highlight because I might use these interchangeably. So the idea of search terms, keywords, search words, just words, sometimes search keywords. To me, these are all the same thing. Technically, they're probably not entirely the same thing, but I'm going to be using them very interchangeably. And what are these? What are search terms or what are keywords? These are the details of our requests that relate to the subject that we're searching on. So when you type something in to google.com or google.ca in my case often, those words that you're typing in, those usually are your keywords or your search terms. All right. So searching. So really this is what searching looks like. Doesn't matter what search engine we're doing this on, but we've got some kind of search keywords that we've come up with, and then that's going to get thrown into a search engine. So some kind of software, whether that's an app or whether that's a widget on a website that we're on, or whether it's a dedicated search engine like a Google or a Bing. And then whatever magic it does in there, it's going to return results. We may or may not like those results. And if we don't like our results quite, we need to do it all over again, which is pretty maybe frustrating sometimes, but it's pretty understandable, right? We need to go through a refinement process sometimes. So this iterative nature is quite okay. Just because you don't get search results perfect the first time, that isn't the point. It's like, how can I refine this? Oh, I've missed this. So we're just going to talk about things that will help us refine. And if you get really good at this, you might not need to refine nearly as often, but it's pretty common because there's just so much data out there, right? So never feel bad about, oh, that search stunk, No, it didn't. You can refine it. Just do something better. Pick another word. Pick another pattern. Use some of these things that we're going to be looking at next, which are called search operators. And that's the theme for today, tomorrow, and the day after, which would be Thursday. Operators are special words and symbols that can be used to add context and specificity to our searches. So we're trying to be more specific here. We can't just expect the internet to know, a search engine to know that here are 3 words that I've thrown at you. and give it no context, it's going to assume some context, and we're going to talk more about that specifically in a few days' time. But the more detail that we can provide, the more specific nature that we can give to what we're giving it, the better chances for success from our perspective for results. So today we're just going to look at two of these. So I'm going to be flipping over to my search engine in a moment. And like I said, I'll be using Google. Today we're going to look at two kinds of operators. And these ones might be familiar to you. These I think are pretty common, but I don't want to leave them out. And it's really easy to forget about them. Exact match is one kind of operator. That's what I'm calling it anyway. It describes it well. And that's when you use quotation marks, when you use quotes around some words. We'll talk about that. And that's one I probably use pretty much every day. And then there's an operator that handles exclusion, so leaving something out. And that's used with the hyphen. So let's just flip on over here and look at a couple of examples. So this is google.ca. And as you know, you don't have to go to do a search on a search engine anymore. There's so many ways we can use our browsers and our phones to just do a search. And but for appearances, I'm just gonna do it directly into the search engine instead of in the top bar here. And so this is a pretty clean browser. So these are just all sorts of searches and things that it's suggesting without me typing anything. So let me give the example of you want to search for foundational things. You've heard of this new and exciting educational brand. And, you want to search about that. So if we weren't using any search operators, you would just type in foundational things and go for that. So didn't use any search operators. I just used two words. So as you can see, Google's going to return 62 million results in less than a second, which is ridiculous. But the first result is the definition of the word foundational. So it's going to start off by saying, hey, and then there's some other things that Google's suggesting. And then just because it's, at the moment anyway, a distinct enough name, the next things that come up actually are things related to the foundational things brand. So our website, our YouTube channel. So that's actually kind of cool. You might not get that lucky, even with 62 million results there. That's pretty crazy impressive. So this is maybe not the best example, but it's still going to be one that will show you the differences. So this first result, again, doesn't say foundational things in it. It just returns a definition for the word foundational. So things, it's going to say, most search engines is going to look at a word like things and say, oh, that's a pretty dull word. I don't know if that's particularly meaningful or descriptive, but foundational is kind of distinct. So it's picked up on that. But if we're really serious about wanting foundational things to be together, if we put quotes around, that's an example of using search operator. So what this is going to do is it's going to look for an exact match of these words in order. To be clear, does this mean that Google or whatever search engine that we're using is only ever going to return those results? I don't think so. I think the searching algorithms are a whole lot more complicated than that. It isn't just sort of black and white anymore. At one time, it would have meant that, and I don't think it exactly means that anymore. But what it does mean is that you know what you're asking for. It means that you are asking for foundational things. In that order, those two words both have to be there, and they need to be beside each other. So it's letting the search engine know that this is my intention. This is what I'm searching for. This is what I mean. And it may still give you other stuff, but it's going to take from the context that you're providing it um, and go with that. So let's search and see what the difference is. So just take one last look there. What have we got? The definition, people also ask, and then a couple of things. And at the moment in this world, anyway, foundational things as a brand, the best ranking stuff happens to be mine. And that's just a fluke. But that's a pretty cool fluke. So if I press return on my keyboard, look what comes up. So now there's only 67,000 results that came up in half a second. Again, impressive. But that's a lot less than, what was it, 67 million? Like we went down by some orders of magnitude there. Like that's a significantly smaller number. The first result is no longer the definition. The first result is the website for the Foundational Things brand, which needs a lot of work, but it exists. It's a thing. And the second is our YouTube channel, which is pretty cool. And then because it's the second thing, it's also getting those nice little previews of showing you some of the videos that are already over there on the channel and that you can check out, things that I've posted over the last few weeks. And then the third result and the fourth result, these don't have anything to do with me, but they did come back with foundational thing, singular, but in the title, but foundational things, plural, 2 words together in the result. And then the next one, also foundational things in the title. So it really did observe this, which is pretty cool. Another thing that you can do is sometimes Google is going to, and other search engines I think are often doing this, are going to say, come up with words that are close. So another thing that you can do, we'll see what happens when I do this. If I only put the quotes around the word foundational, that gives a different meaning to the search. So all of a sudden, I'm not looking for the foundational things brand. I'm not looking for my stuff. But this is saying, okay, the word foundational definitely needs to be there. So why would that be important? Well, that would be important because sometimes our search engines are going to say, you know what word is kind of like foundational? And it'll pick something like fundamental or maybe essential even. It's not even just about starting and ending with the same kind of letters. If it detects a similar kind of a meaning, it might start to bring in, hey, are you talking about this? Are you talking about this kind of thing? Like there's a similarity here. So let's see what happens if I go there. So that one still kind of looks like that first search did. We're back to having 68 million. So that one in this case didn't refine anything particularly differently. But in another example, that actually might make a better dent. All right, let's look at another example. We haven't done the exclusion yet, so we'll do an exclusion example. So we did the quotes, exact match, things that have to be in order. So the hyphen is our operator, our search operator for excluding things from a result. So let me give you an example. If I type in the word apple, just apple. So look at all the things that come up. So the first thing that comes up is tech stuff. I don't know if it's specifically because I'm running on an Apple computer today, or if it's just because this kind of apple is so much more popular than all the other kinds of apples. But I scroll down, it's all about the tech company. It's all about where you can do stuff. Everything is all about Apple. But I want like the fruit, something else. So if I want to exclude, I don't know what a good word would be. Why don't we just go with computer and see what happens? So instead of Apple computer, let's do that search to show you. So if I do specifically Apple computer, a lot of the same kind of things come up. We've got Apple sites, Apple questions, Apple locations for stores. This is where we start to use the exclusion search operator. I throw the hyphen in front of computer. That's saying, please do not include computer in the search results. So notice how this is placed. So that's a hyphen, no space, directly in front of the search term computer. So when I search what I'm expecting, and we'll see together what happens, but what I'm expecting is that there might still be some tech things because Apple has more than computers, but it is starting to show the search engine something about our intention. I'm not as interested about tech. What might I be interested in? Yes, I could be showing this example with something more meaningful, like I could put the word like fruit in, for instance, if I was looking for apple that's fruit. But let's start here and just see what happens for demonstration purposes. Oh, I should also have pointed out that when it was Apple Computer, the search we just did, 6 billion results, still less than 1 second. Again, insane. All right, so let's do a search almost exactly the same, but without that computer term in front. So yeah, it's giving location, location, location. Well, that wasn't enough, but it certainly changed what we're looking at, right? We're looking at Apple Watches. We're looking at iPhones. Okay, so we got rid of the computer. That's great. So we do need to put something like fruit in here. So let's dig right into it and say, okay, apple fruit. Removing technology. Actually, why don't we try the word technology? Let's see what that does. So that doesn't, you've got a good bazillion terms that there's so many search results. Like apple fruit only has 1 billion results compared to Apple Computer having 6 billion. So what did I say at the start? I said about how it's the blessing and the curse kind of situation. There's so much information out there, which is great because there's so much information out there. But then you get into one of these situations where it's like, okay, what do I need to say to show enough of my intention? So yeah, apple fruit, obviously in this case, is going to help us. Still showing us places, but now it's showing us apple farms. Apple farms near me. Isn't that great? A lot of good apple farms near me. Health benefits, nutrition facts. So let's say I don't care so much about nutrition facts. There's a lot of nutrition things. I spelled that right? I think so. All right. So yeah, it still shows up benefits, but the idea of all those things that were there a few moments ago about nutrition facts, those are all gone. So we've narrowed it down. Now, it's funny, what shows up on the right, it's the Wikipedia page, and it gives us all the nutrition facts. So again, our search engine stuff, it isn't going to be perfect. That's not you. That's really not you. But this idea of, okay, well, I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Well, it doesn't mean it's not there. Not right away. Anyway, you kind of have a good sense of, well, it should be out there, right? If you've got that feeling like I should be able to find that on the internet, then it's a matter of, okay, how do I just refine my search until I get what I want? So right now I don't have a particular goal, right? I'm just showing you examples. So let's have a goal. Let's go for an apple pie recipe. And we don't want meringue on it. Or is that a good example with apple pie? Maybe not. I also can't spell meringue. Oh, that's embarrassing. All right. Maybe we'll just go with something else. The fun of life. So maybe. All right. So what did we... Should have worked this out a little bit differently. So personally, I look for a lot of recipes that are gluten-free. Apple pie, I think, is usually pretty safe, except for the crust. So if I were looking for a gluten-free recipe, I could refine this a bit more and put gluten-free. But let's go the other way and just say that I don't want flour. a lot of these things are going to have from scratch recipes. This doesn't get rid of everything, but again, it changes the scene of what's here. And not too worried about getting too detailed with this. We're going to have some really interesting search examples over the next couple of days. The more operators we have, the more we can do with them, the more we can combine them. Yes, you can combine them. So you can use even the two that I've shown you today. You can use the quotes and the exclusion together in different ways. And pretty much all of the search operators are like that. So let's just do, actually, let's leave it there. Let me flip back to the slides. And we'll wrap it up because I'm just excited because there's so much more that we could do and I need to keep it shorter. And the others won't be as long with all the intro stuff. It might get long with our examples and things because it's interesting. But what did we go over today? Well, we introduced ourselves to the search operator, and we learned that we can use search operators to make internet searches more specific. And that's the whole thing, because we want our results to be more specific. So we often need to refine our searches based on our results. And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a fine thing. And then one other point, and I included this here on the summary slide just in case I didn't talk about it very much. We don't need to enter every word like it's a full sentence, but it does matter less than it used to if we do. So I admit to doing this. Sometimes I just have a question and I just type the whole sentence in with the question mark. And usually I find an answer pretty quickly that way. And again, it's to do with what I talked about at the start, this idea that the nature of search is changing. A search engine like Google is getting much more savvy about being able to do natural language, to be able to understand what's being asked for when a whole sentence is being typed out. So often that's actually my starting point if I have a question like, why is this? Or how much is this? Or something like that. And, but a lot of my searches really are more what we just did, which is keywords specifically, and then looking for an exact match, maybe excluding something. Again, there are a lot of different ways to do this, and some ways work better than others. Sometimes my questions would be a lot easier to just ask as questions, which is probably why I do it, that whole sentence, versus trying to figure out which couple of words are easier. So it matters a whole lot less than it used to. A few years back even, those were just wasted words. And now more and more, especially with a Google search engine, it's not so bad. So next time, more search operators. So tomorrow, hopefully at around the same kind of time, sort of a lunch timing, we're going to have more search operators, more examples, lots more examples, real examples. And there will be time for your questions. So if you're watching this after the fact of the live, and you have questions and you want to put those in the chat, or even if you know me and you have another way you want to reach out to me, that will work too. I'll do my best to address those questions and in the upcoming sessions. But yeah, I have a lot of examples and things that I can go through with the new search operators that we're going to be talking about. And so that will be it. In the meantime, I just ask that you would check out the free companion guide, Searching Made Easier. I mentioned it at the start, but here is the bit.ly version of the website to sign up for that, the Searching Made Easier guide. Also, if you want to stay in touch with foundational things and hear about our regular content and special events and things that are coming up, you can join the reminder list, basically, for the news and reminders for foundational things. And so that's the bit.ly link for that. And there are other videos that you can be watching on the YouTube channel. And so you can go over to the YouTube channel. This is just, again, a bit.ly link to the Foundational Things channel. These are all really ugly looking links normally. So at least this kind of looks, these bit.ly links look like English, and that's why I use them. They just send you to an uglier looking website name. And a word about the videos on the YouTube channel. Eventually, again, all of the videos from this teaching series will be available on YouTube, and I'll have a playlist that will include them all. And the only issue I'm having right now is just as I'm learning how to do this, I don't really know what the turnaround time is for having a video like this that's live in this moment show up and be properly accessible and visible to everybody on the YouTube channel. But it'll happen probably sometime over the next day, and it'll be there. So that is it for today. And thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And I look forward to your questions. There is no question that is too simple or too small. I don't believe in stupid questions. At some point, I have to do a YouTube video content about that, and what I mean when I say that, because there is a caveat. But if you want to learn and you have a question, I believe you should ask it. And I am really, really passionate about that. So please ask your questions. There is nothing I would love more than to hear from people, and also hear maybe how something has helped you, get that the positive feedback as well. So tomorrow we'll be back with more on search operators for day 2 of the series. Thanks for watching, and we will hang out together again soon.